Let me start by asking Troy if he has any questions or intentions. Both of those things are linked, by the way.
Well, excuse me, one intention on my mind is Nigel and anyone out there listening, watching, for connection with anyone who had a liquidation event this year. So they sold a stock, sold real estate, sold a business. Those are great people for me to help in the next 6 weeks.
Excellent. So if I hear that correctly, Troy's intention, the angel of freedom, is connecting with people who he loves to help or can help. Expertise in helping is people who have or having or about to have a financial liquidation event in the next few weeks.
Yeah, that's right. They had it or they're going to have it. Tax planning rules say you got to do some certain activity, not you got to do, let's see,
Beep.
by the end of the year. So in order to take advantages of reducing the tax implications, action is to be taken by December 31st this year.
So based on my understanding of your work, Beep, one of the services that you offer that allows people to experience greater degrees of financial freedom is tax planning or tax strategies.
Yep. Tax planning is a great 2 words to describe it.
Great. And taxes always assumes that there's surplus profits or money being made somewhere, and the government is going to want it. And there are, and if I'm the person that is having the surplus, or which can come from some sort of liquidation or other types of events, then it's in my interest to keep as much of that money as possible and doing it legally. And I believe, I understand that's the kind of thing or kind of strategies that you can assist them with, right?
Yes, that absolutely. And 2 things I'm thinking of. One, Warren Buffett, I would guess most people have heard of him, one of the most richest men in the world, has paid about a 17% or less tax rate for decades and decades. So billions of dollars, just has a team of experts in the areas of tax that, allow him and his businesses to pay what's legally due, and that only be 17% or low. And then the other thing is, especially this time of year, especially this week before Thanksgiving. So this week and this time of year, people are of the mindset of giving, and that giving is on their mind. For every dollar, let's say $100, for every $100 that goes to the government in the form of taxes, maybe $25 of that actually does some good in the world. For every $100 that goes to a charity, $75 to $90 of that does some good in the world for whatever that charity's mission is. So that's an example of redirecting the money where the individual may want to go to, share good tidings with whatever is important to them.
So this I am interested in dedicating this meeting to this topic, so that it can be beneficial to Troy. And so I have some questions that might help anyone watching this interaction, this interview with Troy. Do people know about this? I mean, is there some education to do so that people can take advantage of these strategies, or is it common knowledge and everyone's just like, oh yeah, and you're just another guy that does this other thing at the end of the day? How, like, what? Let's just rough guess, finger in the air. What percentage of people on the planet who qualify know about what you're talking about?
Well, so the percentage that I would say no, I would put it at 20% or less.
And so there's 80% of the population who qualify, but don't know that this option is available. Is that what I'm hearing?
Well, yeah, the qualifying would be they've had some sort of
Yeah.
event
Yeah.
where they're facing a gain. And let's say out of those 100 people, 80 of them are unaware that they have some options besides just paying the taxes.
Right. And so why aren't people aware?
That's a great question.
I mean, obviously, the benefit is clear. The ones who are aware are obviously leveraging it, like you mentioned Warren Buffett at the beginning. So wouldn't
So I'll
it
say
be,
a
go
few
ahead.
things. Yeah, a few things come to mind. Would be one, let's say I feel like my taxes are simple and I do it myself and I use something like TurboTax or whatever. Well, TurboTax is designed for kind of your plain vanilla, straightforward type of return, right? There's some bells and whistles that can be added in, but it's probably not going to ask the questions that might stimulate the brain that there's some other options. Part two, most CPAs have way too many clients and are way too busy, and they're just head down doing tax returns, and they also are unaware. And so, quick example is my own CPA, and like a year and a half ago, I had a liquidation event. And I sold real estate, and there's a tax strategy when a person sells real estate where they can take the money they've received from that transaction and put it into a new real estate deal and defer the taxes. I was aware of that. I chose a different path, just my own personal situation at the time. So then that's all I knew was you defer the tax through this one, it's called a 1031 exchange, or you pay the taxes. My accountant never offered any other options. And so then I paid the taxes. And then, of course, I realized after the fact that there were other things I could have done. So now I'm out there because it's one thing. Let's say I still choose to pay the taxes. That might be the option. That might be the solution. At least I had an awareness and I willfully chose that path over these other paths.
Fair enough. So as I'm listening to Troy, I'm hearing that, let's just say there's a market of 100% that's qualified. Remember, not everyone has this opportunity to have a liquidity, and 20% of them are aware and they're taking advantage of these strategies every day. The other 80% are only missing out primarily because they're not aware.
That's right.
And they are paying their taxes legally and filing tax returns just like everyone else. And their professional may also not be aware.
Correct.
And they're called tax accountants. It's not my intention, Beep, to throw rocks at tax professionals.
Nor is it mine.
But I just wanted to ask, what does Troy think is causing the, I don't want to say ignorance, or the lack of awareness by the tax professional? Because if it was me and I was a tax professional and I was aware, I would want to deploy this strategy to my clients. What do you think why aren't so many tax professionals aware or engaged in the strategy? Why is it that Troy needs to come along? And go ahead.
Yeah, well, of course, that's going to require some speculation on my part.
Yeah, so we're not here to critique it, just speculating, in fact.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, I think it goes back to one thing that I said, which is most tax professionals, whether that's a, CPA or enrolled agent, whatever, they have so many clients that they're already working enough simply
Right.
gathering, these are the income, this is expenses, this is what you owe, all the work that goes into that. And then
Yes.
additionally, the last 20, 21, 2.5, 3 years, there's been additional with the what's that called? PPP, and the words, oh, the abbreviation, the words escape me, but basically business owners were able to take loans related to COVID associated things. And so then there was even more work put upon the
Right.
already overworked tax professionals.
Right.
And
And from my experience with my tax professional, they have a deadline. They're driven by a timeline. So it's like, we got to get this done. And and most people, I would suspect, they're trying to get their tax return in by the
right.
deadline. And
Yeah.
there's enough work just to get that right, and to have this deeper thinking and analysis per customer could explain it, is what I'm thinking. So this means to me that there's a massive opportunity in the marketplace. 80% of the market is not being served, Troy. Is that
Yeah.
is that part of the service that you are
Yeah,
injecting into
absolutely.
this space?
Yeah. And it's twofold. So it's me working with tax professionals and the two of us collaborating together. So that way their clients are better served and there's more holistic, proactive planning is the words that we would use, looking at the overall picture and taking initiative with the tax planning, and me working with the individual client in whatever situation they have going on, which it could be the tax professional's client and the three of us working together, or it could simply be, a client that I encounter.
Okay. So now let's just say the intention is to serve that market, those people who have taxable events that are coming up or could be coming up or is happening or has happened. Either way, whatever your criteria is, now I think what you're saying, you would like to serve that market, and you would like to serve more of that market. So what is your current strategy for reaching that market of people?
Okay. Yeah. Well, it's reminds me of a nursing word, which is multifocal. So many focuses.
Yes. Go ahead. Share some of those foci.
Yeah. So there's networking. So a combination of, excuse me, real estate investors are one. So real estate investor networking groups. Another.
Well, I think, sorry to disrupt you. I think what I'm hearing are the categories of events, like real estate can cause one of these events. Is that the only type of event that could cause this kind of taxable?
No, I use the real estate as an example of something specific.
So why don't we just start off with the big ones, the
Yeah.
big events.
High volume. Yeah, high volume, I would say, are people selling a business and selling investment real estate.
Those two?
Those are the highest, right? Now, it could be, like, for example, this year, people's stock portfolios are down. And so sometimes, or people are using that as an opportunity to sell. And maybe by selling at a loss, they can offset taxes somewhere else. That requires, an assessment of the overall picture.
Fair enough. But I'm just thinking of Joe Blow on the street listening to this. And they're like, well, I don't have real estate. Well, real estate. Do I have real estate? No. Oh, I do. Do I have a business that's generating high volume of sales and I can see that we're going to be paying a lot of tax in? No. Do I have investments in the market and I think I'm going to have to do some selling here because of whatever movement is about to happen or has happened. No. Is there any other categories that I am missing?
Those are the main categories that come to mind.
All right. So if I was
so-
putting out an appeal on a broadcast,
Mhm.
there is a major opportunity for is it for I don't know what the correct term is. Am I saving on my taxes, redirecting my taxes? What is the actual benefit here of the service, which we will call tax planning?
How about reduction in taxes?
Okay.
Because it is going to depend on the situation.
Yes, absolutely. I'm just thinking
the full
about
expression would be defer, reduce, and eliminate.
great. Defer, reduce, and eliminate.
Yeah.
That is what the outcome of your result is. That's the actual benefit.
Right.
And so it appeals to people who could be having a taxable event in real estate, in their business, or in the marketplace, right?
Correct.
And speaking, well, my intention is to make this as simple as possible so that when Johnny on the street is watching this interview, they see Troy and Nigel having a conversation about this tax planning. And up until they had watched this interview, they'd heard of the rich like Warren Buffett and 20% that you referred to, and how they only pay so little taxes, even though they're making so much money. But they've never really thought of themselves or their friends or their colleagues or, somebody that they knew. They didn't know that they could help them. And then Troy says, hey, listen, there's this thing called tax planning. I think that's the word he's using, but whatever it is, it basically allows you to play the same game as Warren Buffett. Is that right? But it's only a few qualified people, and they fall into the three big ones. They're dealing with real estate transactions, that's coming up soon, market transaction, and business, high volume business. So now Johnny on the street says, oh, my friend has one of those, or my mom, my grandma is about to sell her home, right? And my dude, he just made so much money. My bro was on the internet, man, and he had a killing on these internet transactions, and he's never made so much money in his life. And he could be having some tax planning benefits. So that's what I'm hearing, is that there's a need to educate not just the qualified, but the general public, so the general public can inform their relatives, their friends about this Buffett strategy. And this is why I like Troy, because he's known as the Angel of Freedom. And as you know, one of the things that limits people is actually taxes, especially the moment they get the experience of freedom as far as income. And when these liquidity event, next thing you know, Uncle Sam is knocking at the door asking for half of it. Go ahead.
Oh, well, that makes me think that some people, especially when, let's say, making money is new, so they do the transaction, they have this lump sum of money, and then they want to go shopping, and buy whatever, right? So let's say they did that this summer, and then next year they get the paper from the IRS, and then they go to their accountant, and the accountant says, oh, you owe $20,000, and they're like, what? I spent that. And so That's the value of end of year planning.
So let's assume that, in my view, my message is for the person on the street who is not qualified, but might know someone who is qualified. And you help me to identify them because they are dealing in some sort of real estate. They may or may not be about to do a transaction, a liquidity event, but at least now I can say, hey man, are you saving on your taxes? Because you could be like Warren, or they're running a business and it's business growing, especially with a lot of these companies on the internet. And third thing is they've been investing in the marketplace, maybe crypto or some high transaction thing that is about to pay out or is paying out. I would like that person who's listening to this to think about who else in their life may fit into that category and take the initiative to ask, do you fit into any of these categories? Because you might want to call Troy to see if you qualify for tax strategy. Do you offer some sort of consultation?
Yep.
To get them just to see if
right, absolutely.
Can you describe that and what would happen?
Right, yeah, so we have to do a complimentary session of reviewing their situation, which is what did you pay in taxes, what's just their financial situation, reviewing those details. And first making sure, so first of all, I want to emphasize that seek a licensed tax professional. All right.
So
I'm a licensed.
You're saying they should talk to their CPA or the accountant first, or as part of the prep work?
It can be both. So I am distinguishing that my license is a life insurance license. So we're talking about taxes here. And I want to emphasize that I'm speaking from reference and experience without a tax license. And so then I either work with that person's tax professional or I connect with a tax professional so that a licensed expert is involved in these things. So that's one piece of the puzzle. What was the other? Remind me the last thing you said.
Well, I think before I remind you, you're just making a very clear point that your expertise is helping them to think through and see the opportunity for these tax planning benefits, but you're not necessarily a CPA or
correct. That's
your
right.
license is in something else, but the opportunity is to become informed, educated, so that they can make decisions using their professional tax person. Is that right?
That's correct. And then now I remember where I started, which is the complimentary session of reviewing their situation. And then through that review, then, the situation is revealed. Maybe they qualify or maybe they don't. Beep. Right. So,
and after that, then you can apply your strategies, which you have up your sleeve,
right,
that Warren is using and other.
Correct. Then when indicated, the expert and the client and I connect via video like this a good chunk of the time.
Great.
And work it out.